After the relaxed day we'd had yesterday, it was time to pay the piper with the second longest day of the entire Southern Upland Way. We'd be leaving the comfortable flat we'd rented at the last minute in Lauder for an uncertain wild camping experience on a remote burn at Edgar's Cleugh, just outside the tiny village of Abbey St Bathans. The forecast wasn't hopeful, and rain at some point in the day looked likely. I'm not sure how we'd managed it, it certainly wasn't planned, but we'd only camped twice in the entire trip, and this third occasion would be our only wild camp. I'd penciled in Owl Wood, a short distance beyond Longformacus, as a possible early campsite, but was keeping my options open. Although the eastern part of the trail is busier than the west, intensive agriculture limits wild camping sites, and other hospitality options are situated well off the trail. Importantly, we found that our attempts to modify plans on the hoof, so to speak, were frustrated by a complete absence of mobile signal, at least from Longformacus onwards. Regarding details of the day, we'd be passing through the grounds of Thirlstane Castle as well as yesterday's intended campsite at Blythe Water, which, had we made it, would have seen us more handily placed 4 miles beyond Lauder. I was looking forward to crossing the Lammermuirs, the last of the upland areas on the trail, where I've never been before and which I've always associated with romantic stories of 16th century border reivers. If the weather was kind, we could look forward to some decent views as we made our way up and down Twinlaw, the highest point on the day's route, maybe even getting a preview of the reservoir at Watchwater. Although the distance was long, the walking looked as though it should be fairly easy, as the Southern Upland Way makes use of a historic commercial route known as the Herring Road, used long ago by merchants transporting fish from the coast at Dunbar to market at Lauder.
Quite big, isn't it?
What, the castle? Yeah, well, more rain. It was forecast and it's pretty much going to be with us all day, but Scotland doesn't do it in, you know, showers or a little bit of drizzle, etc. It's absolutely teeming down. Absolutely is wet, almost as wet after the first 5 minutes as it was the other day, but
it wasn't supposed to be like this yet though. It was supposed to be later in the day.
oh, I don't know, I think there seemed to be a lot of percentages knocking about.
Yeah.
But we overnighted in an apartment which was very comfortable, and that yesterday was actually very good, no problem. But again, you know, the sense of when you start worrying about weather forecasts, however they've got it right today, we're not entirely sure where we're camping tonight. If we went to the intended campsite, it would be a hell of a long day.
Feel the raindrops again.
Diane, what do you think of it so far?
Rubbish. Wet.
That's Blythe water down there. So that was where we were thinking of camping.
What, you mean where we can't see in the mist?
No, just down here,
Oh, right,
in the bottoms, here. Yeah.
Actually, it wouldn't have been too bad, would it? After all my fears.
Oh, you can't look at it like that though. You know, you can be 100% accurate in hindsight.
Yeah. Then go over it.
You are?
Then go over it.
So we're going to annihilate each other. I'm just getting a bit of a panorama of, I mean, my God, you could get a tented city in here, couldn't you? That is superb. I am a mower. We want the track, which I think will run down by these telegraph poles here. It's not very good, is it? They could try harder there. Wouldn't have been so much of a problem from this end.
Because you can see it's not this side.
Well, you're just walking down the gully. Last night a wind from Lammermuir came roaring up the glen to the tramp of trooping horses and the laughs of reckless men, and struck a mail fist on the gate and cried in rebel glee, come forth, my borderer, and ride the march with me." I think that's... Dan, you didn't look hard enough.
Is it on there?
Oh, it is.
I'm going to have a look at that stone. It said stone in a high place, didn't it?
How far away is that stone? It better not be kilometres. The Lammermuirs, the East March, grey and windy and wet. And that way lies Twinlaws, I think 400 odd metres, so a fair bit shorter than the 720 from Lauder Hill. But yeah, I'd recommend anybody walks it this way, because the walking today has been easy, although my feet are sore after not that many miles. It's nice to think that we're kind of heading towards the goal that we set out for, and it will undoubtedly be a shame when it comes to a conclusion. We just have to think about the next one then. Not so.
Looks like a restaurant.
Aye, you will now be looking at everything, anything that doesn't move. Got it? Yay! That's you happy? Well, I'm happy. Ah, okay, yeah. Very interesting.
There's a penny in there.
Yes, there's a penny. Definitely a penny there. Whoa! Actually, that's quite clever, isn't it? I quite like it. It might go to the top of my list for the. Oh, great! What's in it? A little what? What's that then? A register. Some dog biscuits. And I think that's a fan. What we do not need is a fan. I could be wrong.
No, I think you're right.
Aye. Yep. Fans not necessary. Mary and Alan from Rookout Way now.
It's 9:22.
Yeah, Scott and Diane. Southern Upland Way.
Southern Upland Way, what?
Almost complete. Wish the weather was a bit nicer.
See from Durham.
Get a smiley face on as well. 2 smiley faces. Put breasts on the other one.
No!
Alright, we're off down to watch water now. Not to watch water, because there's plenty of water to watch up here.
Been watching it all day.
Oh, it's getting gloomier and gloomier. Right, that's if we're going, so we're just heading straight up the Southern Upland Way, yeah?
Oh, this is Longformacus.
Yes,
Well,
aye.
let's just have a little look through first so we've seen it.
You what, sorry?
Let's just have a little look through first so we've seen it. Oh. Height to get up there as well.
It is, yeah. Oh, it's very different because it's like the 4th, 5th range of hills. Very distinctive.
Longformacus on there.
Right. Never think about these Southern Upland Way shelters, do we? To kind of stop in. Oh, Lady John Scott of Spottiswood, that's who wrote those Ettrick poems.
Oh, right.
We're taking a bit of a breather around Owl Wood. We've decided that we're going to push on to Abbey St Bathans tonight. It's going to be tight, but the weather's atrocious, absolutely atrocious. So there's no, we had been considering stopping in the wood at one point, but that's not something, we want to try and shorten the distance for tomorrow, but it's the weather forecast's not inclined to get any better. I was missing, it's a shame because I was missing sleeping next to the wind farm. It would be my last one. What am I doing here? First field of crops we walked through in the entire Southern Upland Way, as far as I can remember. No, it's on the camera. It's on me, it's the bricklayer. That looks great. I wish we could have seen it on a nice day. Aye, Cleugh Bridge. Aye. We left our digs in Lauder and crossed the town to pick up the Southern Upland Way at this point here. We then crossed the grounds of Thirlstane Castle and ascended through woodland and cultivated land on trail, track and road, through Wanton Walls onto Parkhead, where it began to rain. We then descended to the Snowdon Water, over the next ridge and down to Blythe Water, where we'd intended to camp the previous evening. After that came an ascent to Scoured Rig, but at this point here we found ourselves diverted and interpreted it as descending to the Blythe Water steeply. That wasn't the case, however, and we had to retrace our steps and make our own way around the edge of the plantation to this track, which, after something to eat and a short break at Bradshaw Rig, we stayed on for the next 3 miles over the open moorland of the Lammermuirs. On reaching the fence along the ridge, we turned right on a trail in increasingly poor weather, heading towards the distinctive cairns on Twin Law, which would be the highest point we'd get to on the day. After that came a long descent on the trail with Watchwater always visible in the distance to what appeared to be a road at this point, but is actually marked on the map here as a track. Crossing Twin Law Ford, a short distance further, we turned right and continued on the track to Scarlow Farm alongside Watchwater Reservoir, at which point we picked up the road that we'd stay on all the way to Longformacus. It took us across the dam wall at Watchwater, where we had a spot of lunch, then ascending towards Durrington Great Law and down the valley alongside the Watchwater to the village of Longformacus. We left Longformacus on the road to this point here, where we turned right for a long exposed climb up around the edge of Owlwood, where we'd possibly intended to overnight. We continued on an equally steep descent through Lodgewood onto the road to Elmford Bridge. We were on the road only for a very short time before turning right to skirt around the hill and the plantation to Robbers Cleugh, where we picked up a good forested track that in 3 kilometres would take us all the way to Abbey St Bathans. By this time the weather had deteriorated so badly that we asked around in the village as to whether there was any accommodation. However, there wasn't, so we crossed Gurker Bridge and the White Adder Water, and approximately 3/4 of a mile later found ourselves at our intended campsite of Edgar's Cleugh on the Wearburn.